for 5 years, and then you stagger them on out. So there's 5-year terms, and they keep rolling over a couple each year. So I think more important than who does it, it's for how long, and that takes away the political influence, because no one who is in office ever gets in any one year to be able to appoint enough people to be able to affect in that year the makeup of the board in a decisive way.
The other question, we know, like Bloomberg, he just spends his own money.
Yeah.
In layman's terms, if you really look at this, who would this help and who would it hurt? For example, it seems to me an incumbent who can raise more money than someone that's starting out, first time out of the box, it seems to me it would be better for them to get this matching fund type of thing. I'm not sure an incumbent who's been able to obviously raise money.
I think it's hard to predict, and one of the things, I'll tell you why, because there's a couple of different variables. One of the things I did not do is I did not speak to anybody in the city about, talk to me, tell me how it works. I didn't call up, for example, staff council, the campaign finance board, and say, hey, come on, let's go have a cup of coffee. Tell me, give me the dirt. What works, what doesn't work, where your problems been, what's been good, what's been bad. Fortunately, an old friend of mine, this goes back many, many years, an attorney named Spencer Fisher, is in the Corp Counsel's office and has been. And I met Spencer when Spencer was here as an assistant corporation counsel in Yonkers before he went to work down in the city. He's been down in the city, I think, for about 12 years now. So I've known Spencer for a long time, and he has a soft spot in his heart for Yonkers. So if and when the time comes that you do direct me to go further, then what I would do is raise that question among others. Talk to me with Spencer as the way to get me in the door, so I don't have to, start going through a whole song and dance. And then I can find out for you. My common sense tells me that there is no inherently predictable way of saying whether an incumbent or a new candidate would be favored. Because certain incumbents can be really unpopular. They may not raise that much money. On the other hand, you may have a very popular incumbent. The way that the system works, it's also going to be interesting because a huge topic of conversation to make this system workable or not, if it were to be employed in Yonkers, is how much. How much is the city willing to commit to matching funds? New York City does it at a 4-to-1 ratio. Okay, 4-to-1 ratio. Now, it's not if you raise $10 million, they'll give you $40 million. There are limits as to what will be given, and there's limits for each campaign. And one of the things that they do that is interesting, and again, smart, is that they don't give you that 4-to-1 matching fund for every single dollar that you raise. It's only a certain number of dollars per contribution. So they're really encouraging candidates to get the maximum number of contributions, not the highest dollar amount of contributions from the fewest people. So they load the system in such a way to say, okay, we'll match it up to 4 times the amount of X number of dollars that you get per contribution. And I think they match up, I think it's up to $250. I haven't really studied all the numbers, but my recollection is it's up to $250, then you get 4 times that up to $1,000, and if that campaign contribution was at $1,000, you're only going to get matching funds for the first $250. So and whether those numbers are exactly right or not doesn't matter. Right, it's spread out that way.
So my issue that I'd like to put out to the board is, at my company, my maintenance manager brought me a proposal for $90,000 to do some HVAC work. And I had said that we needed to fix a particular issue. I said, I don't have a $90,000 problem. So, go back and give me a different proposal. My issue is whether or not we have the problem that warrants this level of complexity in terms of solution, and whether or not we believe we have a problem that warrants this type of a solution. And so I would at the very least like Chuck Lisnick to make a case for campaign reform, unless someone around the table wants to make a case for campaign reform.
The bottom line is, I haven't heard anybody in the city, at least people I talk to, who are complaining about campaign finance reform. And the only one was, and Chuck has been giving us that letter now for a while, every year, I guess, every time we have. So, I mean, I think Jules is right. Why don't we just, somebody has to make a case for us to go through that whole scenario that you just laid out.
So I would entertain a motion to invite Chuck Lesnick to make a case, and in person, in writing. You know, I'm open to him doing it however he sees fit. I'm not right now wanting to legislate that, but say, make your case. We've looked into it. Could you please make your case for why we should do this?
And then we can ask him the questions that we're asking about his paper.
And I think that if he were to come, if he's available, he could come at the April 11th meeting.
That would be a great thing,
Right.
right now, if he doesn't, we don't have a whole lot to do with the April 11th meeting.
Well, and the other thing is, if you could come at the April 11th meeting, that would give you ample opportunity. You don't have to become experts, but it'll give you an opportunity to go through some of this material, get a feel for it, look at it, put it down, look at it again, and then you'll be able to ask questions.
And you will have to have dialogue back and forth with him?
Sure.
In his presence? In other words, can you know, maybe it's not obvious to him, and I'm not doubting it, but just what's involved to do this? What the cost to the city would be, what the, you know, here we are with kind of
I would want to be respectful to him and not wind up asking him questions, do you know, da 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 da.
No,
beforehand, you know, could you come prepared with an understanding? I mean, you suggested that we look at the city, New York City. Could you come prepared to discuss what your ideas are for how we could do this and why you think we should be entertaining such a thing?
Yeah,
Does that seem to be a fair?
He may have had some of his staff prepare draft legislation.
A request letter to him that you're going to propose. Can you say in that letter, we've looked into it somewhat, it's a great deal involved, a great amount of money, in other words, subject these things before he got here?
Sure, I'd go with that with Stephen, we'll put together a letter.
Yeah.
Can I, we don't necessarily need to do this in a motion, or we can do it with a motion. What's your pleasure? Everyone nodding their head?
Formalize it.
Formalize it?
I would do a motion.
Would you do one?
Sure. Make a motion to
Invite-
invite City Council President Lesnick to come and speak to us about the reasons why he feels that campaign finance reform should be reviewed by the Charter Revision Commission for consideration.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Saying none, motion carries. Any other topics for this evening?
How about Angela's cake?
I gave up the cake for Lent.
I didn't.
So that you understand and you're not, I gave up the sweets for Lent. I'm looking forward to your after Lent.
Tempting where you
Oh,
are.
okay, and so yes, so God allows me to taste samples for work. I can't finish the brownie.
Well, this is a form of work there, right? Sample here.
Excuse me, are there any other business for tonight?
Not a business, but remember Lorraine last week, she mentioned something about zoning issues?
Oh, please.
I know, oh, wait, right, I'm with you all the way.
Lorraine?
Didn't she mention something about zoning, changing zoning or something like that? Or looking into changing zoning?
Me personally, I
I
don't.
remember her
No, I
mentioning
wasn't-
something and
Something about the
what I remember
districts.
about that was that we had a conversation about districts and we discussed and decided not to move on that because of there were many complications and many layers of what she was looking
Right,
at.
that was
And
just-
once we explained to her what the situation was, she backed off.
Okay.
It wasn't zoning, it was election districts.
Okay.
Actually, she had it all,
Right, that's why I was a little confused, I just wanted to make sure I was done. Yeah. We're done with that. Okay. Nice.
Had to do with census too, right?
excuse me?
Had to do with census too, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, she was saying who did it, yeah.
Julie said it was all interlined, yes.
Seeing no other business for tonight, I entertain a motion for closing the meeting.
Can you take a question from the
Excuse me?
public? Can you take a question from the public?
This is not an open public meeting in terms of discussion, it is a public can attend the meeting.
No, the chair can do it if they want, and that's what I asked. I was once on a charter commission, so I'm a little more familiar with the rules. And you can entertain someone who asks for permission to ask a question.
We will entertain public writing to the board and putting topics on the table, but not during the
Well,
meeting.
you know, the law does require public hearings.
And we will have public hearings. We do